What's going on, guys? It's Brendon and welcome back to another video, and today we have a very special guest with me.
Hi guys, I'm Haiti.
My girlfriend is here today with me, and in today's video is going to be somewhat of a continuation on the last video that I posted where I was talking about, investing for beginners and getting started in investing. Most of that was just more information about investing and about stocks themselves, but today's video is going to be more of a instructional type, step-by-step type of video where I will be making an investment account for my girlfriend and getting her started on her investing journey. You guys can also follow along too, follow some of the steps that I use and that I give to her to start your own investing accounts. And yeah, let's get started. Okay, so tell the people a little bit about yourself and your current situation.
So I am currently a senior in college. I am a bio major and I'll be graduating this coming May. I plan to take a year off to study for the MCAT and hopefully apply to some med schools while I'm in the process.
Nice. So tell the people, what do you know about investing and what were you taught about finances, just anything general.
So I don't really know much about investing. I do know it's a good thing. Growing up, my parents had always told me to save money and it's a good thing to save money, but I don't really know why or what to do with my money, where to put it, or if I should have it in the bank, where to have it, or stuff like that.
Right, so most of the things that you were taught was more about, just saving money versus just not investing money. So most of it was just saving, which is usually the thing that most people are taught, is mostly about, saving your money. But, it is important, like she said, that you invest your money as well, because like I talked about in previous videos with inflation and bank accounts and stuff like that, just saving money is good, but it's not, the best version of what you could be doing. So this is why we're here today. Okay, so now next, without telling the people, too much personal information about yourself or anything that you, don't want to say, what do you feel like is a good amount for you to start investing a month?
I think anywhere around $50 to $100 every month. Considering the fact that I depend on my parents for the most part since I'm still in school and I have other bills to pay, I think that's a good range for me.
That's definitely a good range to start, especially just, getting your feet wet and, starting to feel more comfortable about investing is when you can start, upping that amount. And when you start making more money from new jobs, when you start becoming a doctor and you're making big bank, then you can start putting more and more money away. But that's a good place to start. So I think you're at a really good place to get started with investing. You don't know too much, but you don't know zero. And you have a good place to start with the amount of money that you want to invest in a month. So now is the time that I will create her the account. Now I specifically use the app M1 Finance, and this is obviously not sponsored by them or anything, but I just feel like they have a good platform when it comes to long-term investing because of the pie structures and how you can allocate different amounts to different things like stocks or bonds or ETFs. Stuff like that you'll learn along the way. So right now I'll create her the account and then we'll go through some of the stock picks that she wants, some of the ETFs and index funds that she wants to put in, and what she wants to invest in overall. Okay, so we got her account loaded up. How was the process? What would you rate it?
It was pretty easy. Pretty self-explanatory. It's just a few questions that you don't have to think very hard about.
So there were some of the questions that you were a little confused about on there, like what liquidity was.
Yes. If you're not big into finance and accounting and stuff like that, you might have trouble with some of the vocabulary, but it's not terrible. So
liquidity was one of the questions that they asked, and that's basically in terms of her assets, how much cash does she hold on herself, and in terms of liquidity, it asks how important was liquidity to you in terms of the investment account, and that just means how quickly you can sell your stuff and get your cash back. So yeah, and it basically just asks you personal information about how much you make a year, how much do you have in net assets and stuff like that. And that's usually because obviously anything that deals with money, you have the government and the IRS making sure that it's not fraudulent, or they're keeping track, and the IRS when you get taxed and stuff. So yeah, but overall you would say it was a pretty easy process.
Yeah, it literally took about 5 minutes.
Okay, so good. Okay, so next is your risk tolerance. Now, risk tolerance is basically how much risk do you think in general that you like to have. If you were to go to the casino, are you more of a I'm all in kind of girl, or let me put a little bit in, if it works out then I'll put more? How do you feel your risk tolerance is overall?
I think it's pretty low. I'm definitely like, oh, I lost $20. I'm not spending any more money.
So it's like you don't like to take a lot of risks.
Yeah.
And you just, if you win, then do you keep playing, or it's like if you win, I'll just take my money and go.
Yeah, if I win, I'll definitely just take my money and go, because then you get caught up and it's just,
yeah, and you just get stuck at the table.
Yeah.
And then you lose all your money. So that's good because, you know, with long-term investing, it's more of like a small returns, but consistent and long growth over time. So you definitely fit the mold when it comes to, you know, long-term investing, which is good. Okay, so what do you know about stocks?
I've heard about them. A lot of people talk about it. Literally all over the internet all the time. I've heard people make good money off of stocks, but I'm not really into it.
And do you know about bonds?
Not really.
So, okay, so bonds are basically like debt. And like you can buy somebody else's debt and you can make money off of it the same way that you do like stocks. So that's really all you know. Do you know about like ETFs? Do you know about index funds, stuff like that?
Not necessarily. I've heard about it, but
Yeah. Okay. So basically, I've explained this in previous videos, but just to reiterate, index funds is like stocks, but it's a whole bunch of company stocks bundled into one. So it's like you can pick individual stocks. Like say you wanted to buy Apple stock, you can buy Apple stock. Or if you wanted to buy an index fund that houses Apple stock and like other companies, then you can do that too. So what do you know about diversification, or what comes to mind when you hear about diversify or diversification?
like to split up.
Right. So what do you think that has to do with like finances?
I don't know.
So basically, it's like diversification, like you said, split up. So it's the same thing. Have you ever heard of the saying like, "Don't keep all your eggs in one basket"?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically like that. So when you're investing, it's not good to like bet, like you said, that you don't want to go all in on one bet in the casino. It's the same thing. It's like don't go all in onto just one thing, because if that loses, then you lose all your money. Instead, if you had it spread around, if one loses, you still have the other ones that can hold you up.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that just basically relates to how I'm gonna set up her pie in M1 Finance, or her diversification between stocks and bonds. So, like you said, you are more of a risk averse. Like you don't like to take a whole lot of risk, which is good. So usually the split between stocks and bonds is like the more risk averse you are, the more bonds you should have, because bonds are like less risky than stocks. But there's other factors that contribute also to how like risky you should be. So like your age. So you're young, 22. Most people, when you start off younger, you can take more risk, because like say it fails today, you have the rest of your life to make that money back, versus if you say we're like somebody that was like 55 years old or 60 and you're like retiring soon, you're gonna risk a lot less than you would risk at the age of 22. So it's like usually in a lot of finance books, and what I've learned is that people say then you should have the most like balanced like stock portfolio is 50% stocks and 50% bonds, because it's like even. But for me personally, and what I would recommend for you, mostly because you're young, is that you should have more risk. You can take more risk because, like I said, you have more time. So what I use, and what I probably am gonna update soon, is right now I have a 65 stock percent to 35% split, but I'm probably gonna up it to like 70-30. Because like I said, I'm younger, so I can take more risk, and as I get older I can switch that, so I can like put less into stocks and put it back into the bonds. Like I can change the percentages to be closer. But usually it's like you should have like a 60-40 or like a 70-30 split for like younger people to like make money. So that's how we're gonna kind of set up your chart. You know, stocks, bonds, percentages, diversification. Now here's the step-by-step process that you could use, and that I'm going to create for you to make this investment. So on M1 Finance, here you just create portfolios or a pie chart for yourself. So we're going to create you a pie, and we'll call it your long-term investing pie. Don't really need like any descriptions or anything. That stuff is optional. So if we come over and click in it, so now you can have slices within the pie. So now that's like the allocation between stocks and bonds. So it's like you have your big pie and then like the slices. This is why I kind of like it, because it's easy. Once you have like everything that you want in it, then you just like type in the percentages and it'll automatically calculate it for you. Okay. So what do you feel like is something that you would want to invest in, just in general, or like things that you like that you would want to support or anything?
I feel like healthcare. It's obviously my career path. I think technology. And I don't know, fashion maybe. I guess because I'm into like sneakers and like dressing up and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. Any companies, like individual companies, that you think would be good to invest in?
I think Apple, obviously. I have the whole ecosystem, so.
Love the Apple products.
Yeah.
Okay. So you use anything else?
Not that I can.
Okay. So that's good that you know, like, one of the things with investing is like you want to invest in the things that you would probably use, but not all the time, because maybe the things that you use are with companies that don't do so well in the stock market. But you know, like some of the big companies that are always going to be around, like the Apples, the Microsofts, the people like that, are pretty good companies to have or invest in. So what I believe that most people should have in their stock portfolio or their investment portfolio is what's called the S&P 500. And that's basically just like the best 500 companies in the world. And that's Apple's in there, Microsoft's in there, Google's in there, Amazon's in there. Like the best 500 companies, not in the world, but in the US, are housed into like one big fund that you can buy. So it's basically like you buy this one fund and like you now are investing in like Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, all the good companies. Is what I recommend that you should have in your portfolio. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get her pie loaded up with everything that she wants to invest in. Then I'm gonna allocate the percentages, and you can do this too. So you just pick the things that you want to invest in, and on M1 you just allocate the different percentages to whatever you want. So say if you want like a 70-30 split with stocks to bonds, then you put in 70% stocks, 30% bonds, and then it'll allocate it for you, and then you'll have your pie created. So we'll be back after I have her account loaded up. So now we're back with her account completely loaded up. And while we were doing this process, she had asked me a question. So what was your question?
I asked if it was worth having individual stocks, since you added the S&P 500.
Yeah.
And there's like a piece of it in
other
there.
index funds in there. So yeah. So what I told her was that yes, like, so there's a difference, like, because, so if you say for Apple, for example, that we have in here, so because she has the S&P 500 and Apple's in the S&P 500, that means she owns a part of Apple. But because it's diversified between a whole bunch of other companies, say Apple goes up $100, if you own the individual stock of Apple, then you get that $100 return. But if you own the S&P 500, in this example, that houses Apple, since you have other companies within that fund, then you don't get that full 100, but you get part of it because you own a smaller portion. You don't own like a share of Apple, you own like part of a share of Apple because it's in a fund.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty much built her whole investment portfolio. It took about like 5 to 10 minutes. I gave her a lot of the stuff that I use in my own personal investment account and my personal allocations, but so you guys can follow with it. But she also gave me some of the things that she wanted, because I don't have any individual stocks in mind. She wanted to have some Apple and some Amazon because those are two companies that she likes. So in M1 Finance, like I said, you basically create like a pie, and then you have slices within that pie. So what I did was I created a pie which is her pie called a long-term investing, and then I created 2 more pies. So it's like a pie within a pie. So it's like a hierarchy. So like her big investment account is at the top, that houses her 2 pies of bonds and stocks, and within bonds and stocks, those house whatever she wanted in there. So as you can see, we have stocks and bonds, and so I allocated her percentages to have more stock than bond. Like I said, she's not big on having too much risk, but at the same time, she's young and she can have more risk. So having somewhere between a 50-50 split or 60-40 or 70-30 is good in general. So I have her allocated, as you can see, at 70% for her stocks and 30% for her bonds. So you can, guys can allocate it whatever you want for your account, whatever you feel is, whatever works for you. But the base should be 50-50 at the very least, and then you can go from there. So within her stocks, we have allocated her percentages to mostly in the S&P 500, because that's honestly in my opinion, the best thing to have, because like I said, diversification, you're taking advantage. You want most of your money to go towards that. And so yeah, we have the S&P 500, which is the best 500 stocks companies within the US, and then we have the total stock market ETF, which is just all the companies within the US. Growth ETF, which is like smaller companies that have more potential for growth, are in this one. High dividend yield ETF, which is just companies that give out high dividends. Do you know what dividends are? What are dividends?
You explain it.
So dividends are basically companies pay you money for owning their stocks because you're investing in them, so it's like a kind of a reward for you on top of them making, like if the stock goes up, on top of that you can make money from dividends, and that's just them like paying you money for owning their stuff. So we have that, and then we have total world stock, which is just companies within the entire world. Healthcare, because she said she wanted that, and information technology for her technology. Information specific though, because data is very important nowadays. Like data runs everything. All your data is everywhere, and people pay millions of dollars to know people's data. And then we have 1% allocated to Amazon and Apple, because she wanted to have those individuals. And so bonds is just a small percentage of 30%, but within that we have the total bond market, which is just all the bonds in the market. Long-term bonds, which usually perform well, but it takes like 20 to 30 years before you start seeing returns. And then international bonds, just to keep her, diversified even more, so she has investments outside of just like the US, and like investments outside of the world that she can, now get. So now all that's left is for her to just fund the account with however much money, like she said, $50 to $100, and to deposit it and buy the fund. What I don't know if you're confused about, or maybe people out there are confused about, is like you can buy partial portions of stocks. So it's like you don't always, like stocks, you don't have to buy one whole one. So Apple stock right now is $167. So like you can still invest. You don't have to buy a full stock you can buy partial stocks. Okay. So it's like, because you said you wanted to invest $100, it's like, oh damn, I can't buy anything. No, that's not true, because you can buy partial stocks. Okay. Which is, yeah. So like I said, M1 is good because it'll allocate your money for you. So it's like it'll take like the $50 or $100 and it'll split it up based off of the percentages, so you don't have to like calculate it yourself. Okay. And it's like you just put it in, you buy it for the month, and then that's it.
That makes sense.
So how do you feel?
Pretty good.
Feel excited?
Yeah, I guess.
Start making some money, hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, it's as simple as that. She is a beginner, as you guys saw. Anybody can start doing this. Follow this guide, follow this step by step to, create your own account, create your own investment account. You don't have to use M1 Finance. You can use what you want, Robinhood, go through your bank brokers, stuff like that. But this is what I use and what I recommended for her to use. And so in the future, we'll have more update videos on how it's going for you and the new things that you might learn, or maybe even new investments that you have that you want to get into, or that we want to learn about. And could basically create this into like a series. I started with my girlfriend. I could possibly have other people on here doing the same thing. And because a lot of what this channel is about is helping other people. And it's not what you know, but it's like who you can help based off of what you know. Because if you just know it and nobody else knows it, then nobody else gets to benefit from it. And so we'll check up on her in a couple months, maybe each month. When it comes to investing, it's all about compound interest, and that's just making sure you're consistently doing it. The biggest thing is consistency, making sure you are always putting this money away each month, the $50 to $100 each month, and doing it consistently over time, and then you'll start seeing the wins and start seeing some good money coming in.
Can't wait.
And that is pretty much the end of the video, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on the video. We'll be back with some more updates later on how she's doing with her account and stay tuned for some more investment videos and some more videos to come soon. Catch y'all in the next one. Peace. Say bye to the people.
Bye, guys.